Hello, Ungoogleable. Welcome to your life. Today is beautiful. Please log in.
I had never heard of this book when I picked it up, and I'm glad. I actually meant to order another book from my book club, but ordered this one mistakenly. My first thought was House of Leaves. That looks boring. Maybe I can give it as a gift. Then I saw the quotes on the back by some of my favorite authors, and wondered if I should give it a chance. Then I flipped through it and was interested by the way the book was put together. Then I read the description on the inside cover, which is mostly fictional, about the book being a collection of papers that circulated for a while on the internet, but had never been put together in a book format before, and the story about a house whose dimensions keep changing, and I was intrigued. This is definitely a challenging read, in that it demands your full attention. In a couple places, it tells you to skip to the appendices and read a certain section, then return to where you were. The narrative goes back and forth between Johnny Truant's first-person narrative told in sections, and footnotes of how the book, by an elderly blind man who lived in his apartment complex and may not have been entirely sane, came into his possession, and what it has done to his mind and his life, and the story told by the blind man about, this is really a hard book for me to describe. It has stories within stories, about 800 different typefaces. It must have driven the typesetters, or whoever did the formatting at the publishing house, crazy, and formats that include interviews, bibliographies, letters, transcripts, and even a section where there are just photographs of different scraps of paper. I probably had the most fun with the letter from Johnny Truant's mother, that you actually have to take a pen and decode, because you have to take the first letter of every word and stick them together. I tried doing it in my head, but was too tired, and ended up getting a pen and just taking the time to write it out and then read it. Unlike some of the unusual stuff in the book that really turned out to be meaningless or a dead end, the decoded letter turned out to be frightening. I actually had to toss the piece of paper it was written out on, because I was worried someone would think I wrote it and had lost my mind. This wasn't the scariest book I've ever read, but certain parts were very, very creepy and unsettling. Ever since I read The Legend of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, the idea of a house where the measurements don't quite add up or actually change has scared the bejesus out of me. True, you never see a monster, but to me, what you can imagine is always scarier than anything the author can dream up. The fear of the unseen. It's what scared some people so bad about the Blair Witch Project. Dang it, I was hoping I could review this book without mentioning that movie. I'm glad I read it at home, where I could give it my full attention and not have people staring at me when I turned the book sideways and upside down, and even turning it in spirals to follow the bizarrely formatted text. I'm also glad I read it before I read any reviews or heard any hype about it whatsoever. Unlike the Bly Air, I did it again. I did have trouble getting into the Davidson record, but it proved interesting. I didn't have any trouble getting into the Johnny Truant narrative, especially since the style of writing reminded me of the way Skip and Spectre used to write together. I really miss them. Recommended for those looking for something different, or who want to read something that is engrossing enough to escape. Also recommended to horror fans with an open mind. Not recommended reading, however, if you feel woozy or have a headache. For instance, every time the word house is written, the typeface is slightly lighter than the rest of the text, and at first I couldn't tell if I were imagining it or not. I also made the mistake of trying to read part of the book when I was getting over an ear infection, and
我大学刚毕业，然后就回国了，就没了。
Frank,
Yeah?
what did you do when you were 12 and 24?
What are you looking for? What's the kind of guy for you, Mary?
A sexy, hot man who's honest. I want to play games. I'm getting too old for that.
Are you?
Yes. And I need someone who knows how to give a good foot massage.
Oh, that's what you like
没有全部，他是只有我才可以。你们做什么？不能把它两个破坏，没有够。对，因为他是如果拿包子上去，然后如果给我，他就对你们也这样子，货不能报税。
That scared me a little bit. I thought he was going to throw himself down a flight of stairs.
Okay with the rest of it.
Very good. Marcus, how about you? You're on a date. How do you think it would feel?
Well, if you like spontaneous vibes, you could always take her with me to Vegas, try chicken jumping, or do a little high terrain with the mountain bike, and at the same time she's like,
How about you, John? You're on a first date. Mary's the girl you want to really impress her. How do you make her feel special?
well,
One here.
some fabulous food, some fabulous conversation,
What else fabulous, John?
Thanks.
fabulous foot massage, an evening to
每天周一次周末都是睡到12点，就非常能够自然睡眠，然后自然醒12点。你会陪你宝宝们哭声还行？
没有宝宝没有，宝宝好，他不哭的，他睡比我们好。
Marcus wants to take you out to a nice little dinner, but actually what I want to do is a little Vegas, a little mountain climbing, a little bike riding, and all the time holding you and cuddling you. I don't think it's physically possible. He can do it. It might be a little bit. And John is just all about anything tactical. So time to make a choice. Which one of these guys do you want to get to know?
没有了。
你要1块钱，我有。然后。
What I heard. But I don't know, maybe it's not the best. So expensive. You did 36 was the price.
Okay.
Frankly, you need to read a bit. Oh, so stupid. I took this small and it's cheaper to buy this big. Four. Enough for me.
wow, lots of money.
Thank you for logging out. Today was a wonderful day. Please come back. Red, blue, green. Mic check 1, 2. Congratulations. You reject the good enough. You reject words like symbolism and postmodernism. Obsolescence is not part of your vocabulary. Every night, every day, every step of the way. The dictate of fashion. The agenda of the color wheel. Gone. It takes more than a pretty face to catch your attention. I repeat. It takes more than a pretty face to catch your attention. Good. That is very good. Your source decoding. For you. For the most perfect moisturizer. The most advanced cosmetic lineup. Scientifically proven, scientifically tested.